Chapter 6. Restraint of the organs of sense. The shaking off of the aggregate of the six enemies. Restraint of the organs of sense, on which success in study and discipline depends, can be enforced by abandoning lust, anger, greed, vanity, haughtiness, and overjoy. Absence of discrepancy in the perception of sound, touch, color, flavor, and scent by means of the ear, the skin, the eyes, the tongue, and the nose is what is meant by the restraint of the organs of sense. Strict observance of the precepts of science also means the same, for the sole aim of all the sciences is nothing but restraint of the organs of sense. Whosoever is of reverse character, whoever has not his organs of sense under his control, will soon perish, though possessed of the whole earth bounded by the four quarters. For example, Bhoj, known also by the name Dandakya, making a lascivious attempt on a Brahmin maiden, perished along with his kingdom and relations. So also Karla and Vedeha, likewise Janamjaya, and the influencer of anger against Brahmins, as well as Talajangha against the family of Bhrigus. Ela, in his attempt under the influence of greed to make exactions from Brahmins, as well as Ajabindu and Savira. Ravan, unwilling under the influence of vanity to restore a stranger's wife, as well as Duryodhan to part with the position of his kingdom. Dambhodbhava, as well as Arjun of Hei dynasty, being so haughty as to despise all people. Vatapi, in his attempt under the influence of overjoy to attack Agastya, as well as the corporation of the Vrishnis in their attempt against Dvaipayana. Thus, these and other several kings, falling a prey to the aggregate of the six enemies and having failed to restrain their organs of sense, perished together with their kingdom and relations. Having driven out the aggregate of the six enemies, as well as Ambarisha of Jamadagnya, famous for his restraint of the organs of sense, Nabhaga long enjoyed the earth. Chapter 7. Restraint of the organs of sense. The life of a saintly king. Hence, by overthrowing the aggregate of the six enemies, he shall restrain the organs of sense, acquire wisdom by keeping company with the aged, see through his spies, establish safety and security by being ever active, maintain his subjects in the observance of their respective duties by exercising authority, keep up his personal discipline by receiving lessons in the sciences, and endear himself to the people by bringing them in contact with wealth and doing good to them. Thus, with his organs of sense under his control, he shall keep away from hurting the women and property of others, avoid not only lustfulness even in dream, but also falsehood, haughtiness, and evil proclivities, and keep away from unrighteous and uneconomical transactions. Not violating righteousness and economy, he shall enjoy his desires. He shall never be devoid of happiness. He may enjoy in an equal degree the three pursuits of life: charity, wealth, and desire, which are interdependent upon each other. Any one of these three, when enjoyed to an excess, hurts not only the other two, but also itself. Kautilya holds that wealth and wealth alone is important, inasmuch as charity and desire depend upon wealth for their realization. Those teachers and ministers who keep him from falling a prey to dangers, and who, by striking the hours of the day as determined by measuring shadows, warn him of his careless proceedings, even in secret, shall invariably be respected. Sovereignty, in Hindi, Rajatva, is possible only with assistance. A single wheel can never move. Hence, he shall employ ministers and hear their opinion. Chapter 8. Creation of Ministers. The king, says Bharadwaj, shall employ his classmates as his ministers, for they can be trusted by him inasmuch as he has personal knowledge of their honesty and capacity. No, says Visalaksha, for as they have been his playmates as well, they would despise him, but he shall employ as ministers those whose secrets, possessed of in common, are well known to him. Possessed of habits and defects in common with the king, they would never hurt him lest he would betray their secrets. Common is this fear, says Parasar. Under the control of as many persons as are made aware by the king of his secrets, might he place himself in all humility by that disclosure. Hence, he shall employ as ministers those who have proved faithful to him under difficulties fatal to life and are of tried devotion. No, says Pisuna, for this is devotion, but not intelligence. He shall appoint as ministers those who, when employed as financial ministers, show as much as or more than the fixed revenue and are thus of tried ability. No, says Kaunapadanta, for such persons are devoid of other ministerial qualifications. He shall therefore employ as ministers those whose fathers and grandfathers had been ministers before. Such persons, in virtue of their knowledge of past events and of an established relationship with the king, will, though offended, never desert him. For such faithfulness is seen even among dumb animals. Cows, for example, stand aside from strange cows and ever keep company with the accustomed herds. No, says Vatavyadhi, for such persons, having acquired complete dominion over the king, begin to play themselves as the king. Hence, he shall employ as ministers such new persons as are proficient in the science of polity. It is such new persons who will regard the king as the real scepter bearer and dare not offend him. No, says the son of Bahudanti, for a man possessed of only theoretical knowledge and having no experience of practical politics is likely to commit serious blunders when engaged in actual works. Hence, he shall employ as ministers such as are born of high family and possessed of wisdom, purity of purpose, bravery and loyal feelings, inasmuch as ministerial appointments shall purely depend on qualifications. This, says Kautilya, is satisfactory in all respects, for a man's ability is inferred from his capacity shown in work, and in accordance in difference in the working capacity. Having divided the spheres of their powers and definitely taken into consideration the place and time, where and when they have to work, such persons shall be employed not as counselors but as ministerial officers. Chapter 9. The creation of counselors and priests. Native, born of high family, influential, well trained in arts, possessed of foresight, wise, of strong memory, bold, eloquent, skillful, intelligent, possessed of enthusiasm, dignity, and endurance, pure in character, affable, firm in loyal devotion, endowed with excellent conduct, strength, health, and bravery, free from procrastination and fickle-mindedness, affectionate, and free from such qualities as excite hatred and enmity. These are the qualifications of a ministerial officer, Amatya Sampat. Such as are possessed of 1/2 or 1/4 of the above qualifications come under middle and low ranks. Of these qualifications, native birth and influential position shall be ascertained, from reliable persons, educational qualifications, from professors of equal learning, theoretical and practical knowledge, foresight, retentive memory, and affability shall be tested from successful application in works, eloquence, skillfulness, and flashing intelligence from power shown in narrating stories, Katyokeshu, in conversation, endurance, enthusiasm, and bravery in troubles, purity of life, friendly disposition, and loyal devotion by frequent association, conduct, strength, health, dignity, and freedom from indolence and fickle-mindedness shall be ascertained from their intimate friends, and affectionate and philanthropic nature by personal experience. The works of a king may be visible, invisible, and inferential. That which he sees is visible, and that which he is taught by another is invisible. An inference of the nature of what is not accomplished from what is accomplished is inferential. As works do not happen to be simultaneous, are various in form, and pertain to distant and different localities, the king shall, in view of being oppressed of time and place, depute his ministers to carry them out. Such is the work of ministers. Him whose family and character are highly spoken of, who is well educated in the Vedas and the 6 Angas, is skillful in reading, portents providential or accidental, is well versed in the science of government, and who can prevent calamities, providential or human, by performing such expiatory rites as are prescribed in the Atharva Ved, the king shall employ as high priest. As a student his teacher, a son his father, and a servant his master, the king shall follow him. The Kshatriya breed, which is brought up by Brahmins, is charmed with the counsels of good counselors, and which faithfully follows the precepts of the Shastras, becomes invisible and attains success, though unaided with weapons. Chapter 10. Ascertaining by temptations purity or impurity in the character of ministers. Assisted by his prime minister and his high priest, the king shall, by offering temptations, examine the character of ministers appointed in government departments of ordinary nature. The king shall dismiss a priest who, when ordered, refuses to teach the Vedas to an outcast person or to officiate in a sacrificial performance undertaken by an outcast person. Then the dismissed priest shall, through the medium of spies, under the guise of classmates, instigate each minister, one after another, saying on oath, "The king is unrighteous. Well, let us set up in his place another king, who is righteous, or who is born of the same family as of this king, or who is kept imprisoned, or a neighboring king of his family, and of self-sufficient, or a wild chief, or an upstart. This attempt is to the liking of all of us. What dost thou think? If anyone or all of the ministers refuse to acquiesce in such a measure, he or they shall be considered pure. This is what is called religious allurement. A commander of the army dismissed from service for receiving condemnable things may, through the agency of spies, under the guise of classmates, incite each minister to murder the king, in view of acquiring immense wealth, each minister being asked, "This attempt is to the liking of all of us. What dost thou think?" If they refuse to agree, they are to be considered pure. This is what is termed monetary allurement. A woman spy, under the guise of an ascetic and highly esteemed in the harem of the king, may allure each prime minister one after another, saying, "The queen is enamored of thee and has made arrangements for thy entrance into her chamber." Besides this, there is also the certainty of large acquisitions of wealth. If they discard the proposal, they are pure. This is what is styled love allurement. With the intention of sailing on a commercial vessel, a minister may induce all other ministers to follow him. Apprehensive of danger, the king may arrest them all. A spy, under the guise of a fraudulent disciple pretending to have suffered imprisonment, may incite each of the ministers, thus deprived of wealth and rank, saying, "The king has betaken himself to be an unwise course. Well, having murdered him, let us put another instead. We all like this. What dost thou think?" If they refuse to agree, they are pure. That is what is termed allurement under fear. Of these tried ministers, those whose character has been tested under religious allurement shall be employed in civil and criminal courts. Those whose purity has been tested under monetary allurements shall be employed in the work of a revenue collector and chamberlain. Those who have been tried under love allurements shall be appointed to superintend the pleasure grounds, both external and internal. Those who have been tested by allurements under fear shall be appointed to immediate service. And those whose character has been tested under all of allurements shall be employed as prime minister, while those who are proved impure under one or all of these allurements shall be appointed in mines, timber and elephant forests and manufacturers. Teachers have decided that in accordance with ascertained purity, the king shall employ in corresponding works those ministers whose character has been tested under the three pursuits of life: religion, wealth and love, and under fear. Never in the view of Kautilya shall the king make himself or his queen an object of testing the character of his counselors, nor shall he vitiate the pure like water with poison. Sometimes the prescribed medicine may fail to reach the person of moral disease. The mind of the valiant, though naturally kept steadfast, may not, when once vitiated and repelled under the four kinds of allurements, return to and recover its original form. Hence, having set up an external object as the butt for all the four kinds of allurements, the king shall, through the agency of spies, find out the pure or impure character of his ministers.